Who's the easiest liberal on CNN to hate? Probably Van Jones. And who's the easiest conservative to love on CNN? Basically the only conservative on CNN. Our man Scotty Boy, or as my mom likes to call him, the Kentucky Stallion. And these two went at it regarding this Epstein situation and how the Trump administration has gone like this with handling it. And shockingly, as they go at it in this debate, I think you're going to be wondering, did Scotty Boy lose this argument? After you watch a bit of it, let me know in the comments who you think won this debate. It's SeanDaniel here, filming from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. If any of you are in South Dakota, let me know in the comments below. That would be awesome to hear. Now let's see if Scotty Boy can wipe this cocky smile off Van Jones' face. Also, I apologize. There was something funky going on with the audio on CNN's show. It clicks a little bit, so just be prepared for that. It goes away after a few minutes.
Scott Jennings, clearly the president wants to talk about anything other than this at this point. Because, I mean, that question that he took at the White House, somebody saying like, hey, or did she figure out that you're in the files, right? This has been the conspiracy theory all along, is that rich and powerful people are protecting themselves at the expense of, you know,
look at his face.
Victims, right?
Look at him.
And President Trump stoked it for himself. And like, I don't know where you guys are, but like sometimes things break through, right? Like there's a lot we sit and talk about at this table that a lot of people are not paying that close of attention to.
What?
This one is
blasphemy.
This one is not in that category. Everybody's talking about it.
I want to hear what you have to say.
I yield to Scott.
I yield to my good friend Scott Jennings.
And this disingenuousness is what you need to know about the Democrats right now. The party's in the ditch.
It's our fault.
We have
Because you have Democrats.
on that,
Because
Scott.
you got
Kids,
Democrats.
if you're interested in politics, watch this pivot.
You've got Democrats saying, we must release the files. Joe Biden had the files for 4 years. Not a single Democrat cared. And if Donald Trump were
He
in
didn't
it,
campaign on releasing the files.
and if Donald Trump,
Trump did.
But these Democrats are acting like it's a national emergency, and they did nothing about it. If Donald Trump were in there, don't you think Joe Biden would have put? They had law enforcement chasing them all
I
over
think we
creation.
can all acknowledge Democrats are taking advantage of the situation in a political way. I mean, that does not seem like a contested thing. It's that the issue is
Now,
that
look, people legitimately have questions.
Yes.
Powerful people did do terrible things. I'm sure there are things in the files that cannot be released because of this. Well, would you want to have victims' names or child pornographic tapes
look,
or
all
anything like
that sort of
Probably
stuff.
not.
But I'm serious now. They said
You're a lawyer, by the way. Some of the stuff can't be released.
Hey, look, I don't want all the bad stuff released, but I am saying this. Who's lying here? They said they had the stuff, they had them dead to rights. Donald Trump built up this huge pile of accusations, and now he's like David Copperfield, just trying to make them all disappear. Why? Why won't they just release the stuff that is not going to hurt children, but might help America?
Well, it sounds like that's what the president is saying. If you have things you can release it, and then explain why you can't release the rest. That's a legitimate point of view.
There is this element of being, I think Shakespeare called it being hoisted from your own petard. I mean, this is a problem of
I never wear
creation
petards.
of the right.
I stopped wearing them long ago. You know that. We'll talk about that.
Well, we're going to release that file too. Does anybody in this country actually believe that Pam Bondi is some sort of free agent and that she decided, having come from that part of the Republican Party, having said earlier in the administration that she had all these files on her desk, having said building all of this anticipation, that she decided, you know what, I just want to stick my finger in the eye of the MAGA movement. No, the fact of the matter is she responds to the president. If the president wanted these files released, you better believe they'd be released. And they're not being released. Why? I don't know. We know he was friendly with Jeffrey Epstein. He praised him. He joked about the fact that he loved beautiful women, especially the young ones. This is what Donald Trump said. So is it conceivable that his name might turn up in those files? I think that's far from a crazy idea.
David Axelrod, former Obama guy, I agree with you, sir. Do you guys really think that Pam Bondi, on her own accord, because of whatever powers or negotiations or pressures are going on behind the scenes, that she decided wholeheartedly by herself to not release these files that she had access to and had on her desk. That does not make any sense. If Trump was willing to have them released, of course they'd be released. Bongino, Kash Patel, everybody in the MAGA movement, Laura Loomer, everybody's trying to fire after Pam Bondi like she's the one making this choice. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, because I think this is totally right on. And just because it comes from a Democrat's mouth doesn't mean it doesn't make sense. But how's our man Scotty Boy gonna combat this?
This is a very powerful example of the challenge that you face when your message is very anti-establishment in a moment when the electorate is very anti-establishment, and suddenly you're kind of the establishment. And I think right now the issue that Republicans are going to face is that it's hard to make this go away in the short run, because every time Donald Trump says something about it, have you ever heard of the Streisand effect? The idea that if you want to make something go away by calling more, like by saying you want it to go away, you call more attention to it. This past week has been an exercise in watching the Streisand effect in full form. And I think it's hard to make it go away through action.
Well, and let's watch Pam Bondi try to make it go away today because, well, just watch the clip.
Nothing about Epstein. I'm not going to talk about Epstein. I'm going to be here for as long as the president wants me here, and I believe he's made that crystal clear. No, I'm not going to talk about personnel matters. No, I'm not going to discuss personnel matters. I think we all are committed to working together now to make America safe again. Only on topic, guys. Our memo speaks for itself.
Look, I mean, the reason that they're after her is because she's the main person who said she is on the death. But here's the thing I thought was important today. Donald Trump said, I was only given a brief briefing on this. That strikes me as bizarre. His base cares about this passionately. He's talked about it a million times. But for some reason, Pam Bondi has only, according to Donald Trump, who never lies, Pam Bondi has only talked with him about it briefly. Why? Why is that?
Well, he's been a little busy fomenting world peace and a turnaround of the American economy, Van.
But do you find it credible?
You should spend more time on that. We're not there yet, but go ahead.
Yeah, but honestly, do you find it credible that Donald Trump has only gotten a little tiny little briefing, hardly any information at all about Jeffrey Epstein?
I'm sure he's gotten some information. I don't know how much he's gotten, but again, is it not conceivable to you that this is just a simple case of promising something? You get there, you realize it's not what you thought it was, and now you just can't deliver on it.
Well, but why
is that not conceivable, that they just don't have what they thought they had?
It would be more conceivable if she hadn't said that she had all this material.
She was
on
reviewing
this.
it. Yeah.
Yes, but she more than intimated that there was a lot there and that she was going to make it all public. And I think she intended to make it all public until something happened. And I think what happened was the President of the United States said, we're not doing that.
Now, I will say on our air, I've heard two lawyers, one Friday night, Arthur Ayadala, Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyer, and last night, Doug Schoen, who was Epstein's last lawyer, both say out loud they do not believe this man committed suicide. So if they, lawyers who were in the know, have questions like this, it's legitimate for the American people to have questions.
Well,
I mean,
that's what
you're
we're saying.
switching
I, mean,
arguments
I was going to say, like, you're just saying that it's fine that the president hasn't put anything out, that makes total sense. But now you're saying, well, actually,
no,
it's credible that it's all wrong.
No, it's possible to have questions, but it's possible also that you can have questions and not be satisfied by what's happened so far. I get the polling. I understand.
Look, I think it's remarkable the cowing now of people. You're talking about the people who are still on the pogo stick, still raising it. There are people who are starting to back off, though. There are people, I mean, there are people who said they cared about the women who were abused, who said they cared about children being mistreated, who said they cared about the abuse of power, who are going to go quiet on this. Because what they really care about, apparently, is not getting smashed to bits by Donald Trump. And this should be very worrying, I think, for the honest people who are the majority of people on the conservative side, that you now have a president of the United States who, if he says, I am disappearing all of your concerns about children being abused, there are people who will say, yes, sir, and walk away.
Well, there's been reporting that he spent the weekend calling Charlie Kirk and other conservative influencers and telling them to chill out on this thing.
Before we address some of the truths that these Democrats on CNN are firing out right now, I can't believe it, let's dive into Scotty Boy before we find out more about what these conservative influencers are saying and how Scotty Boy over here and Van Jones are going to keep going at it. Scott is the epitome right now, and if you watch him on CNN a lot, he will not really concede even when one of the liberals makes a good point. He tries to find some twist in the argument to defend Trump and defend the Republican Party and the MAGA movement, which is most of the time standing up for what's right. We know that. We believe that. But Scott will be an expert at finding some loophole in logic, like he said earlier about, well, the Biden team had the Epstein list forever, and now Democrats are calling for it to be released. Because that's a good point. If they're so worried about it, why didn't it get released before? But do you see how Scott will do what David Axelrod, this guy over here, just said, which is if Trump says something needs to be gone away with or put focus on, that's what everyone in the conservative movement is going to jump on. One, because we support Trump. He's the guy we voted for. We put a lot of trust in him. But two, there's a lot of power Trump has because he's creating opposition towards people like Thomas Massie. Even a lot of you guys comment down below about how bad Thomas Massie is now because he didn't vote for the big, beautiful bill and Trump doesn't like him. So Scott, the same thing, who Scott supposedly is going to run for the U.S. Senate seat in Kentucky because Mitch McConnell's one is up soon. Scott is trying to stay on the good graces, I imagine, of President Trump and the MAGA movement. Because even in this situation, he's trying to find loopholes in the argument. Now, we have to keep in mind that Democrats like Van Jones over here are just going to jump on this so they can point out a weakness in the Republican Party, in the MAGA movement. We understand that. We don't think necessarily that they have the right moral compass and heart's desire to bring out the truth and bring out what's going on. But if we're going to give them this opportunity where Trump is like, okay, we need to get Epstein out, Kash Patel is like Epstein, Pam Bondi, all these people talk about it, and then Trump gets all defensive and switches his story and says, let it go away, I can't blame the guy for pointing it out. He's making a logical case, even if his heart does not come from the right place, which a lot of us perceive that. We don't know it. The approach that Trump is making with this is very questionable, even if there's really, really dark stuff behind the scenes that are pressuring him, or it could be a cataclysmic event if he released all this stuff, the people it would implicate. There's a lot of reasons possibly he's not doing this, not releasing it. But the way he's going about sharing that he's not releasing it is giving these guys tons and tons of opportunity to get a win on TV.
To that point, David, Charlie Kirk, and we played this yesterday. So Charlie Kirk yesterday had basically said, I'm moving on from this because there were these reports over the weekend. The president's calling people like Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk was on the radio and he says, okay, we're going to try to move on from this. Well, there was apparently some backlash to that, or at least this reaction that he had today would suggest that there was some backlash, because here was more of Charlie Kirk from today.
This is what I was saying. Ball is in your court, guys. You are my friends. We got your attention overwhelmingly. Fix it. That is what I was saying. I want to make an addendum to what was said yesterday is we're going to keep on talking about it. But when you have friends, don't you give your friends some opportunity to be able to get it right, to fix it?
I mean, that seems to underscore.
That's really not what he was saying, but it speaks to what Kristen was saying before, which is these guys are caught between a rock and a hard place. The movement is demanding more information, but they are affiliated now with the government in the ways that they are, and so they are now trying to walk that very, very difficult path between satisfying those who are demanding more information and hewing to the line the president has laid down here. Whether you can navigate that remains to be seen.
And Donald Trump has been pretty deft at navigating getting his base to unify around things ideologically or policy-wise that might be uncomfortable or might not be things that Republicans are all actually in alignment about. But you know what? I trust Trump. I want Trump to govern well. I'm just going to vote for this. I'm going to go with this. But this is different because it's not an ideological or policy thing. And so I wonder to what extent his powers of unifying are going to be curbed by that reality.
It seems like one of the first significant challenges to it, as you point out.
Do you guys think that the MAGA movement can unify if Trump stays in this stance of not releasing the Epstein files and dismissing the attention towards it? Let me know in the comments down below. And heck, you guys can have your own debate down in the comments below. I love when I have seen that. Somebody comments a strong take, and then a lot of you guys just respond and put all these replies in there. It's very entertaining to watch, and I'm glad you guys get an area to share and release. But I have some doubts about how much Trump can unify us because of the way he's gone about messaging this. Even if there's a lot of dark things going on behind the scenes, and he has limitations on what he can release for many, many valid reasons, possibly, because there's a lot of pressures behind the scenes at that massive level that possibly infiltrates and impacts big, big, powerful people, not just from the U.S., but worldwide leaders. And sometimes these podcasters or YouTubers can really limit that and be like, well, it's the right thing to do, release it. But at the same time, the way they've gone about sharing this and doing this 180 twist, the Trump administration, even it's got me irritated. And I can't believe I have to say this, but Van Jones, he's the black one, not the white one. Van Jones, I think made some better points than our man Scotty Boy. It's itsSeanDaniel here, and if you want to watch our man Scotty Boy actually dominate a liberal CNN guest, check out this video right here. Because she got really, really triggered, and Scott could just sit there after a few words and be like, it's okay, sweetheart, keep going, keep going. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Let me know if you're in South Dakota. That would be very cool to hear, because I'm here as well. And I'll see you in the next one.